What's going on, guys, and welcome to another episode of Tank Tuesday. So the first Tuesday of every month we're going to have a video focusing on aquarium keeping. More specifically, I think most, if not all, the videos will be focusing on my 10-gallon Florida Native Aquarium that you can see here. Wednesdays and Saturdays we're still going to have my regularly scheduled regular fishing videos. So this is going to be the roughly 3-month update of my Florida 10-gallon native aquarium. I say roughly 3-month update because the 3-month anniversary is actually next week. So this is more like the 11-week update. Before we go over the actual update, let me give you a quick rundown of what this tank is supposed to be. So as mentioned, this is a 10-gallon Florida native aquarium. So everything in here, well, not everything, but everything living in here is going to be native to Florida. So the plants and the fishes. So first let's go over the plants. My goal for the plants is to make it very, very thick and jungle-like. Eventually I don't want to be able to see through the aquarium. I should not be able to see the back if the plants grow in the way I would like them to. And 3 months in, it's going pretty well. We're still probably a few months away from that happening, but I am really liking the way that most of the plants are growing in. So the plants in the back, the ones that are kind of the, I don't want to call it the centerpiece, but they're the main plants. That's going to be the Bog Moss or the Mayaca fluviatus or something like that. I'd say it's the main plant just because that is the plant that has been doing the best, and it's really kind of just taking over the aquarium. I didn't plant that much of it. I think actually out of the 4 plant species in here, I planted the same amount of all of them almost. But the Bog Moss is the one that has just taken off really, really well. If you look kind of right in the center of the tank, that is how thick I would really like it to be all over, just so you can't see through it at all. If you look kind of in like the upper right corner, it's still growing there. It's just not growing as well. It is slightly frustrating because in different areas it's growing at different rates and at different levels, I guess you can say. And I have had to trim it in some spots because again, if you kind of look in the middle, it's starting to like fold over on top of the water surface there. It's just growing, well, a little bit too much. But then in other spots, like toward the right, it's not really filling in as well. So I'm not sure exactly why that's happening. Maybe it's a lighting thing. But yeah, I have had to trim it back a little bit. But I'm hoping over the next several weeks and months it continues to grow in nice and thick so you can't see through to the back glass at all. The other plant that's doing fairly well, it's tough to see because the leaves are pretty delicate and there's not as much of it, but that is going to be the Pearlweed. Forgot the scientific name of that species, but that's going to be mostly over in the left side of the aquarium. I planted most of it kind of in front of the Bog Moss, kind of almost in front of the sponge filter, a little bit to the right of the sponge filter. And that plant is the most recent plant addition to this aquarium. I think I added it about, I'd say 5 or 6 weeks after all the other plants. And for a while, it grew very, very slowly. But within the last like week and a half or so, it really has taken off. You can see some of the stems getting pretty close to the water surface there, which is great. So I would like to have that to continue to grow in. I think I'm going to start propagating it a little bit. I think that's the right word for it. I'm going to start trimming some of those stems and planting them. I'd like to have more of that kind of growing a little bit more forward toward the front of the tank, just because the stems are really thin, the leaves are very thin and small, and you'll be able to see through it a little bit. So I want the Bog Moss, which is really thick, to be toward the back, and then I'd like the Pearlweed to kind of be in front of the Bog Moss, so it's still gives the fish a lot of cover, creates that jungle-like, keeps with the jungle-like theme, but so you can still see the fish as they swim kind of through it because it's a little bit more delicate. All right, next plant, way on the left there we have two, well, it's the same species, but two individual plants of the Dwarf Chainsword. Scientific name also escapes me right now. All the original leaves that came with it died, so I've been kind of trimming those back over the last several months. But both of the plants are producing some really good looking new leaves from their base. Now I planted two of them, and both of them I think I planted too close together. I think they're competing for like the same nutrients and the same space, because the plant on the left is doing really well, and the plant right next to it on the right is doing not as well. The plant on the left is growing about twice as well as the plant on the right, and I'm not sure why. I think they're just a little bit too close together, but I don't really want to mess with it too much because they're both still growing. So my goal with those guys is really to cover the sponge filter. I'd like those to eventually get fairly tall. I don't know if they're going to reach the surface, but at least tall enough to cover the actual like black sponge, and then hopefully that like green part of the sponge filter just kind of blends in. But that plant has been doing okay. And then the fourth and final plant, you could barely see it now because there's only two stems left. Most of the stems of this plant died almost as soon as I planted it, within just a couple weeks. So there's two stems left. One is growing very slow, but it is still growing. That's the lemon Bacopa Carolana, I think it's called. And then so one stem's growing, and then the other stem, it's not dying, but it's like not growing either. And I think right now, they had a lot of space when I first planted them, but I think right now the bog moss especially has kind of crept in around it. So I think now the bog moss and even the pearlweed to a certain extent is kind of shading them, taking away a lot of light and some nutrients from them. So I hope those guys can still continue to grow. I'd like to propagate those as well. Hopefully if they get a little bit taller, I'll trim some and plant the stems in some other parts of the tank so we can get some variation there, because those stems are really thick and the leaves are fairly big. So it does create a nice contrast to the pearlweed and the bog moss. So hopefully we can get some more of those. But okay, enough of the plants. Let's talk about the fishes. So the fishes have now been in here for 5 weeks. They are all still alive. At least I think they are. It is sometimes tough to keep track of them all because there are, what's 6 plus 8? There's 14 of them. There's 14 of them in here. And a lot of times they're somewhere in that thick vegetation, so it's tough to keep track. But there are 8 least killifish and 6 bluefin killifish in here. Let's talk about the least killifish first. Those are probably my favorite. They're the smaller of the two species in here. Most of the time, unfortunately, those guys like to kind of hide in the actual grasses. Right now, there's a good amount of them out. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right now, I can see 6 of them. So I guess there's still 2 of them somewhere in the back. But most of the time, they like to hide, and very rarely do they actually come out. If I had to estimate, I'd say like 80% of the time they are somewhere hidden in the plants, and 20% of the time they're somewhere out in front where I could see them. And then the bluefin killifish are kind of the opposite. Those guys are neither species is aggressive, but the bluefin killifish are a little more aggressive. They're a little bit less shy, and they're kind of out in the tank in the front where I could see them 80% of the time, and then 20% of the time they're kind of hiding somewhere in the back or under the driftwood or something where I can't see them. So I kind of wish it was reversed. I kind of wish the least killifish would be out a little bit more, just because I like looking at those a little bit better. But either way, I'm not really too upset about that, because I would like this to be fairly natural, and as the plants keep growing in, I'm sure the fish is going to feel a little bit more comfortable hanging out among them, so I'll probably see them less, but I'm okay with that. And if you remember my last video, there were a couple ghost slash grass shrimp in here, and those are gone. So within probably about a week of adding the fishes, the shrimp all died kind of one by one. So I'm not exactly sure why. I didn't see any of the fish like picking on them. Both of these species of fishes are fairly docile. They're fairly peaceful. I think there might have been like a small either ammonia spike or nitrite spike, which the shrimp did not react well to. That's just kind of my guess, but I'm not really sure. So all those guys unfortunately died off. I still am thinking about getting some more and adding them in here, just so I could have like a little cleanup crew so those guys can eat any kind of leftover food and maybe process the waste matter a little bit more. But for now, there's none of them in there. All right, and when I got these fishes, I kind of wanted them to reproduce. I figured the bluefin killifish probably wouldn't, but I would still like them to. So I got 3 males and 3 females. The least killifish, when I ordered them, I couldn't sex them, so I couldn't request which sex I wanted like I could with the bluefin killifish. Those I was able to request what I wanted. So when I got the 8 least killifish, I was pretty excited because I was very confident that with 8 of them, I would have got at least 1 male or at least 1 female. What I'm saying is basically at least 1 of each sex. Unfortunately, though, all 8 were females. So what are the odds of that? Not very good. So I was sure I was not going to be able to get those guys to reproduce. Thankfully, though, a few of them at least came in already pregnant. So I have seen some fry in here, and it's tough to tell how many fry I've seen. I'm sure I've seen at least 4. It might have been more. I saw one once, and then I actually saw a bluefin killifish eat that fry. Then a few days later, I saw another fry, and I also saw the bluefin killifish eat that fry. So I know I've seen at least those 2. And then within the last week and a half or so, I've seen 2 more, and actually today I've seen both of them as well. So both of those fry are still in the aquarium. At least I think it's the same fry. I mean, I'm sure one of those might have also been eaten, and then there was a 5th one that got birthed, but I don't think so. I think the 2 that I saw today are the same ones that I saw a week and a half or even 2 weeks ago at this point, because I think one of them is a little bit bigger than the other one. So I think that one is actually growing and doing pretty well. The thicker the plants are, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to raise those fry just a little bit more successfully, because they'll have a little bit more cover to hide from the bluefin killifish. So hopefully those guys make it, and hopefully at least one of them turns out to be a male, so we can get like an actual reproducing colony of the least killifish in here. But I don't have super high hopes for that. As long as those guys can make it, I'll be happy. But I think the bluefin killifish are going to be able to pick those guys off. But yeah, I couldn't really get a video of those guys because they're really small, tough to focus, and they're usually hidden in the plants really well. But I was able to get a couple pictures, so I'll put some of those on the screen right now so you could take a look at them. Looks just like a really cute miniature version of the least killifish. But yeah, so I think that's going to be about it for the 11-week update. The plants are doing well, the fishes are doing well, and I guess we'll check back in next month. So yeah, hope you guys liked it, and I will see you guys next time.